الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهديه الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل وسلم وبارك عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Today's Aqeedah and from the book of أعلام السنة المنشورة اعتقاد الطائفة المنصورة on the 200 questions in matters of Aqeedah, and we're almost done with the book. Maybe inshallah next time if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us life we will finish the book inshallah, and then we'll start with another book of Aqeedah inshallah. So today's question is as he says على من يجب الأمر بالمعروف والنهي عن المنكر وما مراتبه. On who it is mandatory to enjoin what is good and to forbid what is evil, and what are the levels of enjoining good and forbidding evil. This is an important subject. It's part of our deen, of Islam, to order others to do what is good and to forbid others from doing what is evil. And this is called الأمر بالمعروف. الأمر is to order. This is an order. بالمعروف, معروف is anything that is known to be good. And there's a definition to al-ma'ruf. Al-ma'ruf, what is meant, this is literally what the word means. What is known to the people to be good. Usually the human being, to some extent, the major good qualities is something that is in the fitrah, or the innate of the person. Everybody knows that stealing is a bad thing, right? Lying is a bad thing. So what is known to be good. But is it open to whatever is known? No. Ma'ruf is what is mentioned in the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ as being ma'ruf, as being good. So we have our own definition of what is good and what is evil. Because human beings, they have no capacity to know this. It's only from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one that He has the right to say what is good and what is bad, what is halal, what is haram, and so on. So al-ma'ruf is what's in the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ as ma'ruf, as good things. Wal-munkar is evil things. Things that are supposed to be, in the innate of the person, he would abhor it, he would feel that it's evil, right? But also the munkar is what's considered to be munkar, what's considered to be evil, what's considered to be haram, forbidden, in the Quran and in the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. So it's another level in which the person is ordered himself to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to do what is good and to stay away from what is munkar. But this is not enough, unless a person's benefit will be extended to others. And that is, he would enjoin what is good and order people to do what is good and forbid others from doing what is evil. And this is one of the mahasin deen. This is one of the good things in the deen of Islam. Not something to be looked at as something difficult or anything. This is one of the beauties of the deen of Islam. Something that a Muslim should be proud of. الأمر بالمعروف والنهي عن المنكر. And that's one of the things that you would find the enemies of the deen of Islam, they try to make Muslims eliminate this part of their deen, right? Because you're always causing discomfort to the disbelievers if you spread the word of the truth, and one of which is to enjoin good and forbidding evil. It's one of the good things in the deen of Islam. Everything in the deen of Islam is perfect and is good, but it shows that you will find even in other ways of life. When people, for example, talk about virtuous things or bad things, this is the end of it. They don't go further. They don't try to implement what is good, and they don't try to push away what is evil, right? And that's the major difference between Islam and other religions or false religions and so on. And that's why it's very important that we understand what it means and the levels of it and so on. So he says, قال الله عز وجل, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلْتَكُمْ مِنْكُمْ أُمَّةٌ يَدْعُونَ إِلَى الْخَيْرِ وَيَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنكَرِ وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. As it mentions Surah Al-Imran 104, وَلْتَكُمْ مِنْكُمْ. This is a lamb of an order, ordering this ummah that should be among you a group of people, يَدْعُونَ إِلَى الْخَيْرِ, calling people to what is good, and they enjoin what is good, what is ma'ruf, and forbid what is evil. These are two separate things. And da'wah is one thing, enjoining good and forbidding evil is another thing. That's why the rules and the etiquettes are different. To give someone da'wah, this is totally different than enjoining good and forbidding evil. Yes, when you're giving someone da'wah, you're enjoining them to do what is good, to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and so on. But it's different than the specific rulings mentioned with الأمر بالمعروف والنهي عن المنكر. He says, وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم من رأى منكم منكرا فليغيره بيده فإن لم يستطع فبلسانه فإن لم يستطع فبقلبه وذلك أضعف الإيمان. This hadith shows the levels of enjoining good and forbidding evil. من رأى منكم منكرا, whoever sees among you منكرا, any munkar, anything that is forbidden, haram, فليغيره بيده, he should change it with his hands. فإن لم يستطع, if he is not capable to do that, to change it with his hands, then with his tongue. فإن لم يستطع, if he is not capable, then by his heart. وذلك أضعف الإيمان, and this is the weakest level of an iman. So these are the levels of forbidding the evil. The first, he said, who it is mandatory for him to enjoin good and forbid evil. And from the levels of enjoining good and forbidding evils also, this is something that is shown. If a person has the authority, has the capability of removing an evil by his hand, let's say, has the capability, because the Prophet ﷺ said, فَإِلَّمْ تَسْتَطِعْ, if you're not capable. So if a person has the capability of removing an evil from existing, from being implemented, from being done, then he has to remove it with his hand. But what does the capability here means? There is an evil, there is a haram thing being committed, right? A person can remove it with his hand, but then if it comes back worse than it was before, and he removes it again with his hand, and it comes bigger and bigger, right? He does not have the capability of removing the evil. So it's not about movement or eliminating the evil for a second or 5 seconds or 10 seconds, and then it comes back to be more evil. That's why the ulama, they say you have to have the authority to remove it with your hand. Because if you have the authority, then it will stay away. But if you don't have the authority, what happens? You will cause a bigger evil. Right? And the famous example, if you see liquor, this is haram. You know, alcohol is haram in the deen of Islam. You can remove it with your hand. You go to the store and just remove them. You know, take them away and dump them in the garbage. Right? What's going to happen to you? You go to prison, and they will bring more, right? And there will be so much harmful things would happen to others, right? So what do you do in this case? You don't change it with your hand, right? Even if you do that, you don't have authority. Even in a Muslim country where they sell these things, they don't have authority. So what happens is, if you do something like that, they will build for the person another store. They will give him more, and you and the like of you, all of them, they will put them in prison. So it will be more harm. So you did not remove the evil. You helped for the evil to be stronger and stronger, and more evil occurred as a result of this. And some lives were lost, for example, or some people that are locked up in prison for no benefit. If there was a benefit, maybe you can think about it, but there's no benefit. It created more evil, and the evil came back even stronger. And they would make a law maybe that more people should sell these things. So the enjoining good and forbidding evil, this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had made it part of the deen to eliminate the evil or to decrease the evil. But if someone would do something to increase the evil, then his actions are evil, even if the intentions are good. So that's why it's very important. This is a very important concept in the deen of Islam. الأمر بعواقبها. That matters or actions is by its outcome. We don't just do things without thinking of the outcome. Unless the matter is something that is part of the deen that you don't care about the outcome. Like establish the salah, establish the salah. Doesn't matter what's going to happen to you, you have to establish the salah. But something like this, remove an evil from its place. But then you end up having a bigger evil, then you have to avoid that. And this is a person, have to be watchful of this. So if a person has the authority at his home, right? So if there's evil in your household, right, then you remove it with the hand. You don't allow it to happen, because as a man, he has the qawama, he has the superiority in his home, he's the maintainer of the household. Any sin that is being committed and he knows about it, right, is the one committing the sin, and also the one in charge of the household. He is responsible for it. And the hadith and the ayat in the Quran, كلكم راع وكلكم مسؤول عن رعيته. Every one of you is responsible, and everybody will be held accountable for his responsibilities. الرجل راع ومسؤول عن رعيته. The man in his home, he's responsible, and the same thing for the wife and so on. So nobody would say, well, what can I do? It's better for my kids to commit sins at home, better than under my eyes I can see them, better for them than they committing sins elsewhere. No, it is haram for you to allow for sins to happen. You can be gentle, you can educate, you can do whatever, but there's no such a thing as it's permissible for you to commit sins so that they won't commit sins elsewhere. This is not permissible. And making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and having the proper environment and so on. So one's household, he is responsible. He has to remove the evil with his hand. That means he should not allow for such a thing. If a person is not capable, does not have the authority to change an evil, then bilisani, by his tongue, to advise people, to tell them in a gentle way that this is not good for you. This is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forbade. That it's bad for you in this life and in the hereafter. And we cannot really sustain the fact that you are disobedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and so on. If a person is not capable of that, as the Prophet ﷺ said, not capable meaning that he might get harmed by this or anything, then the least, which there is nothing after that, which is the lowest level of al-iman, is to forbid the evil with your heart. It means you have discomfort when you see what is haram. And if a person sees haram and he doesn't feel this discomfort, then there is a problem in one's iman. It means his iman there's nothing after that. Something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the creator of the heavens and the earth, forbade, and a person doesn't have any problem with it or acquainting himself with it. This is a major problem, that a person has to purify himself and his heart from this disease. So when a Muslim sees something haram, he can't change it with his hand, he can't change it with his tongue. The least thing that he can do is with his heart, and that means he stay away from it. And that's what biqalbihi means. That you don't stay in a place where there is a sin committed, and you're sitting there, and you're watching it, and you're approving it, right? You have to leave. Because staying there, this is a sign that you're approving of what is being done. Unless you can't leave, otherwise, where can you go? There's no place for you to go, right? Like in the airplane, for example, right? And there is a sin committed where you're going to jump from the plane, you can't go anywhere, right? So if you can leave, then you have to leave. So to be in a place where there is alcohol being served, that's haram. Something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from over 7 heavens, He had forbade that. Right? And a person sitting in the gathering, people are drinking and things like that, and thinking that this is maybe a means of da'wah, or softening the heart so that they don't look negative at the Muslims. This is not permissible. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that we're supposed to seek His pleasure. And we didn't say that you would stand up and scream at people and leave. No, just leave. If this has happened, you leave in a nice way, right? You're not doing anything harmful to others, but it's not permissible to be present in a place where there's something that's being committed as haram. And this is the lowest level of al-iman. And there are many ayat of the Quran and a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, which shows that it's mandatory to have this concern, at least the concern in the heart towards others. And once this concern is sincere in the heart of the believers, then taking the means and the steps with the wisdom and with gentleness, definitely it would bring all means of goodness. And if it didn't, then it's okay, as long as a person would fulfill the orders of Allah. Sometimes you see a situation where you're not sure. If you try to change it, will it become worse or become the same or less? In that case, you can use your judgment. If you think that if you try to eliminate the evil, it will bring a bigger evil, then don't do anything. Stay away from it. If you think that it's either going to be the same or less, then do something. It's not going to be worse. So the least thing is going to be the same. Then that's fine. But if it would be less or eliminated, mashallah, this is good. And these are sometimes very difficult situations, especially at the times of fitan that we live in. Sometimes you are forced in a situation where there are two evils. No matter what you do, there's an evil is going to happen. Then in that case, if this is like this, then to choose the lesser evil, this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from you. But you have to first know the ruling that you don't have any way out of this. Right? So you can't say, well, I have the choice of two things, either to buy my house with riba or to buy it with a haram transaction. Well, I'll choose the haram transaction because at least it's not riba. No, this is not the example. You should avoid this and avoid that and seek help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But if a person is in a situation where he has no way to go out of the haram unless he would commit a lesser haram. Right? I don't recall an exact example of this, but this is like ulama, they say the example when the man entered the masjid of the Prophet ﷺ, and he started urinating. A Bedouin entered and he started urinating on the side of the masjid. So the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, they were about to do something. Imagine someone doing that in the masjid. So they wanted to stop. They wanted to stop him. They wanted to, stop him by force. How dare you do this in the masjid, the best place on earth? How would you do that in it? The Prophet ﷺ forbade them from stopping him. And he said, "Let us remove. Do not cut this thing on him. Let him finish." Right? And then after he finished, the Prophet ﷺ ordered for a bucket of water and for them to clean the place. And he called the man, and in a very gentle way, he told him, "This masajid is not built for this, for these najasat, for these impure things. It's been built for the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the remembrance of Allah." So the Prophet ﷺ did not yell at him, did not scream at him, and how dare you do this in our place? And the person didn't have the knowledge, right? So the Prophet ﷺ was very gentle with him, educating him, to the extent of which that the man, he said, "Allahumma aghfir li wa li Muhammad wa la taghfir li ahadin ba'di," or kama qal, he said that, "Oh Allah, forgive me and the Prophet ﷺ, and do not forgive anyone else." Right? Because he saw them, they were angry with him, but the Prophet ﷺ was very kind to him. The Prophet ﷺ smiled and he told him, "La tuhajja wasi'an," do not make what is very spacious, do not make it very tight. Allah can forgive everyone. Right? So the point is, the Prophet ﷺ allowed, can someone say that the Prophet ﷺ allowed the man to spread more impurities because he told them not to stop him? There was more impurities being done in the masjid while he is continuing to do that. As the ulama, they say, yes, because if they try to stop him, a bigger evil will come. And that is, imagine someone is like in that situation, and they try to stop him by force, the najasa won't be just in one spot, it will go everywhere. Right? That's one thing. With the najasa itself, it will be in more than one place. Plus this is, might hurt the person, right? It might be harmful for him to do such a thing. And that's a bigger evil also. So allowing something in that situation, it's already happening. Something evil is already happening, right? So choosing a lesser evil, and this is something that should be left for the people of knowledge to deal with. And that's why we should ask the ulama in these types of situations. We should not make our own judgments, right? Because the principles that we have might not be the principles of the deen. We might be carried by emotions, right? Or we just know one thing and we think this is what the benefit is in. We're not aware of the whole picture, the principles of this deen. That's why we should always ask the people of knowledge, and we should have good expectations of them in these types of situations. Someone that has the knowledge and fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, Al-Amr Ma'ruf Na'i Munkar comes with it. Also the advice on how, if a person uses his tongue, how he should use it. And it's not a mean to step over others, because why this creates so much problems among people. A big portion of it because of the lack of sincerity in the heart. A person, when he advises someone, or when he knows someone is doing something evil or something haram, so he thinks that he's better than him. So when he's trying to stop him, right, Allah knows what's in the hearts, of course. But one of the reasons why things would not be done in the proper way, because the hearts are not clean. So a person would feel good that he's better than others, so a way to step over them, to make them look bad, to make them feel bad, that he's better than them. This is not how it's supposed to be. A Muslim, when he sees something haram, he should be very concerned. And that person as if he is burning himself. So how can you save him? Right? And having the concern towards him. Even as some of the early generations of Islam, before they would do this, they would make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that person, to be guided, to be away from what's haram. The concern is there, right? And then, when a person has this concern, he would say good things. Sometimes you get angry, yes, because there's something, very evil is happening. But you look at that person as someone that is sick, he needs help. So you speak to him in a gentle way, in a kind way, not that the sin is not affecting you, but because you want to eliminate the sin. The point is not about just to say some words and leave and he can just go to the hellfire. No, a person has to deal with the matters with such wisdom, So that the goal is to remove the evil. If he took all the means and you were extremely gentle and he explained the matter in the right way and there was no response, then you did what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered you, and never get angry for your own self. And a person has to prepare, because this is one of the most difficult acts of worship. One of the most difficult orders in the deen is to enjoin good and forbid evil. Right? Because normally you will be opposed by, it's none of your business. Right? Or the discomfort. No human being like to be advised or to be corrected. Right? Except those who are really sincere believers. But as human beings in our nature, we feel uncomfortable, right? Unless you would choose otherwise, because this is the deen of Islam. So we should like if someone advises, even if they didn't use the best way to do that, but at least, a person should be happy that someone is showing our own faults. And when a person is opposed by what is wrong, by saying it's none of your business, look at yourself, you should worry about your own self, don't advise me, or a person, responded with in a bad way, that person then enjoining the good and forbidding the evil should be sincere, that he does not get angry for his own self. He should follow the way of the Prophet ﷺ, never get angry for his own self. How can you speak to me like this? Who do you think you are? Right? And then becomes a fight. You went for the sake of Allah, continue to be for the sake of Allah. If he says bad things about you, who cares? Right? It's not going to be taking away your honor and dignity or anything. We're not better than the Prophets. You took the means, you were so gentle, you were so kind, and you explained the matter, and then it was opposed by something that is not good. Be patient. Say, Jazakallah khairan, I did my part, I just had the concern, and that's it. Right? And you leave the matter. And you even come back to the person, give him a gift. Never apologize that you did something good, but to still try to soften the hearts. And you never know how a person might change or be the means to change. But anyway, this is part of the deen. According to one's capacity, of course. So this is in brief with the issue of enjoining good and forbidding evil. There are many issues to it, and I'm not talked about things like that, but some people, they should be appointed to, especially with matters of calling others to what is good. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلْتَكُمْ مِنْكُمْ أُمَّةٌ. So this is fard kifaya, fard on the ummah as a whole. And if the ummah is not doing this work of calling others to the deen of Islam and to calling people to what is good, then there's a collective sin is being on the whole ummah, right? And that's why a person should do the best he can according to one's capacity. And many means, mashallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made many means of ease to give da'wah and to enjoin good and forbid evil. And again, one of the major difference between both, when it comes to da'wah, you're taking the matter gradually. You see someone that is wearing something haram, for example, right? Or let's take another example. You know that he's doing something haram. You know that he drinks, for example, right? But he's not drinking with you now. He's not drinking in front of you. But you know that he drinks. But you know that he doesn't make salah and he's away from the deen and so on. Should you go tell him, when he's not drinking at this moment, should you go tell him, don't drink, it's haram for you, this and that? Or should you start with what is more important? You should start with what is more important. This is da'wah. Talking about the tawheed and so on. The same thing, someone that is a non-Muslim, you talk to him about tawheed, about the oneness of worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and so on. But while you're talking to him, he got the drink out and he started drinking. Can you say, well, I don't want to make him misunderstand me, so I won't do anything, just let me sit with him so that his heart will be softened. Then you go into the enjoining good and forbidding evil. It's not permissible for you to be present. Right? So either you tell him, don't do that, if he does not respond, then you have to leave. You cannot sit in a gathering where there's a sin committed. Right? And this is part of the honor and dignity of being a Muslim. That you don't accept that on yourself, that you sit in a place where it's humiliating for you. To sit in a place where their sins are being committed. The more we exalt Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and worship Him and be obedient to Him, the more that you would find yourself humiliated so much if you are sitting in a gathering or in a place where their sins are being committed. And to take oneself away, this is the least a person can do. If you have any questions, and I know that there are many things here, but this is just in brief. This is part of matters of belief.